my dear industry colleagues, your instant connection, your appreciation, your likes, your comments, your shares. I'm using the lingo of social media now. Over the last 2 leadership insight sessions have been indeed very, very touching, very, very overwhelming. I thank you. I thank you very much for lapping up this initiative. And I should share this with you that as much as you liked the initiative, my guests here, both Cal and Vivek, liked it as much. I feel very nice that this initiative is creating value for you and you're liking it. Encouraged by such a wonderful feedback, I have today a special guest, a good dear friend of mine, a good industry colleague, Mr. Sharad Tyagi. He has a very unique and a very different career profile, and therefore I expect his leadership journey to be also unique and very different. My friends, engineering from Delhi College of Engineering, management from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and a career spanning 32 years. And it's not a typical career which we all see. This career, this great leadership journey of 32 years started with the industry of specialty chemicals, 8 years, around, not 8 years, actually 11 years of the experience, specialty chemicals at ICICI India, around as much experience as around 11 years experience in a very unique industry. I just learned from him the name of the industry. The industry's name is Environmental Catalyst, am I right, Sharad? And in a company called Ingelheim, and that company is now part of BASF India. 3 years in yet another industry, which perhaps is known to all of us, is the active pharmaceutical ingredients or API industry for 3 years. And then comes the industry which we all know very, very well, the pharmaceutical industry, the industry of innovative medicines. And that's the industry which took him to the corner room, the coveted managing director room. At a company which is known for research, I'm sure you know the company which spends a lot, perhaps one of the highest percentages to the sales, the company which spends on R&D, on innovation. And that's the company Sharad, my friend, a esteemed industry colleague, is at the moment heading. Isn't it a truly unique, a truly different and an inspiring career for all of us? Sharad, in this very unique, very different, very upwardly, very fascinating career, your leadership journey, I'm sure there would be many moments which, if you look back, you love to remember, you love to cherish. I would request you, if you have been able to recall those lovely moments, those cherishable moments, it would be great to share with the audience that part of your journey.
Sure. First of all, Yugal, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I'm not sure I'm worthy of such a detailed introduction. No,
it's yours.
It's been a nice journey, and yes, now with Boehringer Ingelheim, it's been a fascinating experience in the pharma industry. But as you pointed out, I started with ICI in specialty chemicals, then environmental catalysts with Ingelheim, then in the API industry with Dr. Reddy's, and now in the innovative medicines with Boehringer Ingelheim. There have been several moments that I cherished, and with each of the organizations that I have worked with. ICI was my first organization, so I had some wonderful colleagues, some wonderful bosses. When you are young and you are just about starting on the journey of the corporate life, those are the people who make a tremendous impact. I remember them all with extreme fondness. They have added a huge amount of value to me, and really it was there that I got a taste of so early back, way back in the early 90s, I got a taste of truly independent working, where the organization had the confidence in giving me a new business to start, and that's where really I would say the entire journey of mine started when I was asked to start a new business on specialty chemicals for the cosmetics and pharmaceutical industry with ICI.
So that was the new business.
That was a new
that
business to start up, and my mentor and guide was none other than one of the doyens of the industry today, Mr. Sharad.
Wow! Wow! Incidentally, he was also in Novartis, and
yes.
I also had the opportunity to work for Novartis. So please.
So wonderful people manager, and so much I learned from him. So to me that was one of the most cherished moments to say that okay, now you are going to put up a start of a new business for ICI, and setting up a new business, a new unit was something that I really enjoyed. Interestingly, that led to the next break, because when I moved from ICI to Ingelheim. When I moved from ICI to Ingelheim, again the task was to set up not just a new business but an entirely new organization in India, and that was in '96. So I was the first employee. I worked out of business center room, and the task was to set up the entire presence. And just to take you all through an interesting piece of information, that was the time when the cars in India did not have catalytic converters, and there was a lot of noise about environmental pollution and how the vehicles need to have catalysts, etc. So we were really amongst the first plants in India. We were the first ones to put up a business on catalytic converters in India, because that was the main business of Ingelheim. And to me that was a phenomenal achievement, because we were really doing something very relevant for the society, for the environment, and I'm talking about now 21 years back, and to me that gave me a great pleasure, because everything I did was something I had never done before. Setting up an organization, looking at government approvals from FIPB, looking at the legalities of setting joint ventures, looking at setting up a manufacturing plant in an industry which was completely new and alien. So it was a huge experience, and I really cherished that a lot. And alongside, I got a phenomenal opportunity to work as the head of strategy for Ingelheim for entire Asia. So I was also involved in setting up similar units and strategic initiatives in China and Taiwan, in several parts of Asia. So those 10 or 11 years with Ingelheim were almost a completely strategic role for me, a bit away from the typical day-to-day operations that we used to do earlier. And I really figured out a lot about myself and about my capabilities and what we can achieve, in those 11 years. Reddy's, what can I say? I think one of the most amazing organizations I worked for. Unfortunately, it was just for 3 years.
Unfortunately for 3 years. These days, 3 years is the maximum time period. I see many of the managers working.
I know, but I believe when you work too short a time with an organization, you don't really gain enough from an organization. So Reddy's was an amazing organization, and I cherish the culture from there. For me, those were the moments. It was a very well established business. I did what I had to do in terms of de-risking the entire business profile. But overall, the culture, the work culture, the people, I still have a lot of friends from Reddy's. I meet often. And then I was back to setting up a new business, new organization, which was Boehringer Ingelheim in India. So if you look at a common thread, it has been largely in setting up new businesses and organizations in different industry areas.
Thanks, Sharad, for taking us through your inspiring career journey, and I got some cues when you were talking. You very clearly, and you summarized well toward the end by saying that embrace new. Don't be scared of new. Whether it is a new job, It's a new business, it's a new opportunity, it's a new organization, new kind of product portfolio. Embrace it, and that's what I saw. I heard you saying that. I also heard you saying that you had some wonderful people around you. Your bosses, I heard, saying were very good. You will remember a few names. I heard the name of Ranjishani. I also heard when you mentioned about organization like DRL. Great. People were great. People were amazing, and something which you really enjoyed. And I'm sure along the journey you learned as much as you would have added value to the businesses which you had. And I think in our own context, in our own personal life context, in our personal professional life context, let's not be scared of anything new. In fact, new opens up a new opportunity for all of us to go forward. And that's what I hear Sharad telling us very loudly too, when he was asked to give us those cherishable moments of his great journey. That brings me to something I don't know whether you'll be able to remember, but I'm sure you'll be able to remember. In such a long career, such a diversified career, I'm sure there would have been some moments which would be the moments of wow, the ecstasy. And there were some moments, oh my God, where am I? What did I do? Some lows, some highs. It would be quite interesting for me and for the audience to know if you're able to recap a couple of one very high and very low moment, the moment which makes me feel really ecstatic, great.
So I'm sorry, but I'll have to disappoint you because the way I have treated the entire journey, I have not really looked at anything as being a low. You know, there's always a learning in every event. Yes, the highs are there. To me, the highs are, there's no single instance. The highs are being, often the highs are being given opportunity to do something new. And obviously when you succeed in it, then you feel very good. So I would say that each of my assignments has been a high in itself. Is there something where which I'm disappointed about? I would say no. I think there have been moments when things didn't go exactly the way I had wanted or I had planned, but I always tell my team members that those are the kind of moments which allow you to reflect back and say, okay, what can I do and how can I change it? One of the things that I'm very proud of, which I would say as a high for, is that it rarely happened that in my 4 diverse different assignments, I ended up doing the same things I was doing earlier. So it's not that now at Boehringer I'm thinking about what I did 15 years back or 10 years back or 20. Actually, I'm doing something completely different. So to me, the almost the constant high has been the process of really doing something new every time. And that to me is something which keeps you going as a professional, because otherwise you start getting jaded after some time, and that's when you start looking at what I would call as a artificial high, or did I get a huge business or a huge order or something. Those are not really the highs that you remember. What you really remember is that were you able to take something completely different, completely unknown, and make a success out of it. And I would really say in all modesty that I think every assignment I have taken up over a certain period of time, I would say has been successful. And to add to that, including the fact I count as a success one of the joint ventures in Ingelheim that we wound up. And the reason I count it as a success is that had we not wound it up in time, it would have made more losses and much worse business sense than having wound up. So sometimes winding up a business or stopping a business, or let us say stop doing a business with certain customers, can make much more sense than just trying to continue to make it a success. Okay, it's like, do you continue hanging on to a stock which is not doing well in the hope that the same stock will become better, or do you pull out and reinvest your energy somewhere else? So those are learnings. You can say, was it a low? Answer is no. It allows you to do something else.
Well said, Sharad. You had change of industry, you have change of assignments, you have change of locations even in your career seems, and that newness didn't make you feel the need to even see something very ecstatic or very low, because the message I get from you is discover greatness in every moment which you have, enjoy every moment you have, and I think then you won't search for something really very high or something very low. No, nothing will disappoint you. And rightly mentioned, divesting out of a business is also good, is also something great. That also could be considered as a high point, but if that was not taken, perhaps things would have been much worse. So, good message for all of us and for me. You were describing about the change. Can I get some thought from you that generally we think I am today working for Glaxo, so I should now move to Pfizer. If I'm working for Pfizer, I should move to DRL. If I'm working DRL, I need to move to Cipla. And this is how generally in the industry we all move.
Right.
You moved industry.
Yes.
What was that one single thought? What was that single driver which was happening at the back of your mind, where you were so welcoming even a new industry and a new assignment and a new location?
So I have to be very honest. This goes back to a mentorship discussion with one of my very early mentors, and he probably also learned it somewhere else. But he used to say that if you are looking at an assignment which makes you really nervous and not sure whether you should do it, that's the assignment you should do. Because if you do something which is familiar, then you are just going to redo the same thing again and again, and that's not going to really get you any more learning. So it so happened that almost every change that I have done happened, so to say, on its own. I was not looking for a new or a different kind of assignment. Something came up, and full credit to people who thought that I was worthy of taking a change, and then I took up the challenge. It was as simple as that.
Oh, lucky Sharad. He got the opportunity at the right time, but I must say there was a very capable Sharad who lapped it up and made a great success out of it.
Okay.
So, as much for the opportunity, and I think more for Sharad, because the opportunities are available to all of us. This is a management institute, and we conduct sessions, we conduct courses on leadership. So I also want you to just browse over and think and tell us what are few leadership insights in your entire leadership journey which you captured and which the audience would benefit.
That's not easy to answer, but let me attempt. When I look back at all the things I have done and all the successes, I think the most important thing has been the people around. You know, when you work for an organization, when you leave it, when you look back at whatever you have done, more than the specific achievements, at least for me, I have tended to remember the people, the associations, what you have learned from them, what they may have gained from you, and how interactions with every single different kind of a person enriches your experience. So I think from a leadership perspective, I would say that especially in today's environment, when there's so much of technology around you, if you lose touch with people, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to be able to get all the different perspectives, get all the different ideas. Because what happens with different people is they always trigger a thought, they always trigger an idea. No idea comes to you just on its own. You know, if you are interacting with the right people, if you have interest in your conversations with them, if you are really open-minded about what they are saying, you will get great ideas. You can debate, you can argue, and I have had some of the, I would say, fiercest discussions, debates, arguments, but it always lead to something positive. Whether I'm right or wrong, it doesn't matter. So I think one of the most important leadership insights is that they connect with the people, whether they are your subordinates, whether they are your peer, whether they are supervisors, seniors. That's probably the most important.
Okay, so people are the centerpiece.
People will always be the centerpiece.
Wow. We keep hearing that technology is moving up. We keep hearing artificial intelligence is coming in a big way. I also saw recently a video, Sharad, which says humans need not apply, which indicates as if all the jobs will disappear when the technology is coming. Here comes the head of an organization with 32 years of experience sharing with us. No matter how much of technology comes, people will continue to play a pivotal role, will continue to play a central role, because eventually the ideas will come from people. People are the centerpiece. Thanks Sharad for sharing this with us. I personally quite concur. In fact, reflecting back my own personal journey, if somebody asks me, I think I'll answer the similar way. My experiences might be a little different because I work for different organizations, but I 100% concur with what you're saying. And that brings me to another question. Generally, when we join an organization, we look at people competencies, the competencies related to people, how we are able to relate people, lead people, interact with people, make them help, perform, etc., etc. At the same time, we also say, do you know your job profile, which we dub under a head called technical skills, technical competencies. For a finance guy, it could be accounting. For a marketing and sales guy, how do you interact with the customer? For a manufacturing guy, how do you really know the technical operation which you have? So we talk technical competency and people competency. And I have seen people talking about, this job is more technical and this job is more people oriented. What has been your thought between this mix of, and I call it as, for the task thing I call it TQ, task quotient, and people I call EQ, emotional quotient. So what has been your mix of TQ and EQ, technical competency and emotional intelligence, or people competency, in order to move up the hierarchy, in order to move up in the system?
Very, very, very interesting question, and somewhat relates to the previous discussion we were having about experiences and connect with people. See, task competencies are obviously extremely important, but task competencies can be acquired, in my view, much more easily than acquiring the EQ or the people competencies. You may have great task competencies, but if you are not able to relate it to what is required in the organization, what is required by your stakeholders in the external environment, then you will at best be a technical expert. And a technical expert without the ability to take what their ideas or what their thoughts or whatever they are delivering to the stakeholders is extremely difficult. What ultimately drives organizations are people with the EQ. Now the EQ need not be only about people. EQ can even be about your connect with the markets, with the products. How do you build an entire business proposition around it. But ultimately, if you see even today, whether you're looking at the benefits being offered by products or by different industries, so much is built around the emotional offering of it. I think technology or technical part is one part of it, but ultimately the growth in an organization, the growth in the culture of an organization, the growth of individuals is driven by emotional quotient.
Again, very well said. Very, very well said. And I think for that very reason, Sharad, we in our organizations have a number of training programs. We can organize lots of training programs. If there is a new system come up, new version come up, for example, in a sales and marketing setup, we used to have physical reporting, now online reporting. Now there are very capable systems which are integrating the output and the input, number of calls, results, achievement of the targets, as everything getting linked up together. So there is a technology which gives us all that on one platform, and we can do training program. We can do some kind of induction sessions for us. But eventually, what counts is people, and that's what in the answer to the earlier question and this question you are trying to figure out. And I think majority of the managers would concur with what Sharad is mentioning, is the people who eventually come. That brings me to another question. I know in the audience, and going by my earlier experience of doing the similar sessions earlier, there are a number of budding managers, youngsters who are in the audience today. And you are in the corner room, so-called coveted corner room, which everybody looks at with a lot of awe in an organization. What is your advice to the youngsters who want to really fast track? Our time there used to be 50, 55, 60 you become the managing director. But these days people aspire to become the managing director even in the mid-30s or even earlier. I have seen a couple of examples where even the corner room has been occupied much earlier. So what's your advice to youngsters who really want to grow and make it big faster?
So I'm not even sure if the youngsters today want to become managing directors, because I think the youngsters today are much more evolved in their thought process and their clarity of thought than, say, when we used to be young. For us it was about getting a job, about getting the next grade, the next increment, increase, whatever. But I think youngsters today are far more focused on trying to decide what they really want. And I think if I was to give an advice to the youngsters today would be to actually be very clear and take the risks and do what they really want, whether it is, if it's a corporate career, even then, you can fast track on your corporate career if you are seen to be in today's environment very focused on what you really want to do and how you're going to get about doing it. The problems come when people become too focused on a specific grade or a level or a kind of an achievement and forgetting the entire process that needs to be gone through. And I genuinely believe that in today's world, the days of old when we were worried about our next promotions and all, I think the youngsters today are, in my view, more evolved than that. They actually thrive much more on job satisfaction, on doing something meaningful. So my advice is that if you do something that you really enjoy, that you get a great sense of achievement out of, the role or the work that you do, if that is making you happy, you will be able to put your all into it, and then automatically you will get to the next levels of wherever you go. Because organizations also recognize these traits in individuals. When we look at the people in the organizations as leaders, when we look at them, we know who is committed to the job, who is enjoying the job, and who is only doing it to just that little bit of extent where the job is done. And those people don't really make it to the higher levels. So the trick is in selecting that role or that job that is going to make you completely involved in it.
Let me share with you, I'm in touch with millennials now, being part of the university, and I'm sure you would also be in touch in the organizations. The youngster of today, rightly said by you, wants to pick up something which really gives him kick, the one which kicks up his passion. And currently we're in the placement season here, let me tell you. And I saw traditionally pharmaceuticals, you have sales people come in, sales roles, marketing roles, supply chain roles come in, and I was really amazed to see we had a new recruiter this time. And this happened just the last week, Sharad, where we had Michael Page, which is typically HR consulting firm. They were here, and the amount of the interest I saw in the student, the kind of questions they were asking, made me feel youngsters think very, very differently. We want to cast them in our own thought process, in our own experiences, but I think there are two millennials, and they want to pick up something which gives them the kick, and very nicely captured. Finally, a little cliche question: do you have a role model? Do you have?
Oh, absolutely. I have a role model who is probably a role model for millions and billions of Indians, and that's Sachin Tendulkar.
Wow!
He's
a cricketer.
I don't know. I don't have a role model from the industry, but and I want to tell you why I have Sachin Tendulkar as a role model. It's not just because he was such a great batsman. I think he was continuously learning and he was reinventing himself. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of positive thought process to completely reinvent yourself all the time. So people had criticized him that he's not the same guy as he was 15 years back. Well, he realizes he's not the same guy as he was 15 years back, and he's doing something about it. And that is something that in our journey we need to learn and understand, that the things we did 10 years, 15 years back may not be things we can do today. You have to continuously change your way of thinking, you have to continuously change your way of working. In my career, there are periods where I have had to micromanage things because that was the requirement of the day. There have been periods when I have been hands off completely, because that is what was required. You can't be just the same person or the same manager or the same leader throughout. So I also believe when people ask questions about what's your leadership styles are very varied. It all depends on what's the need of the hour. And I believe when I have, I belong to that generation, just like possibly Yugal, where our entire youth grew up watching Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, very true.
And you kept learning from him. He had failures, he had injuries, he had things which threatened his career.
He's seen it all.
You draw a parallel, and all of us have had such moments where suddenly there's something that doesn't work, there's something that is stopping you, and what do you do? And it's true, I think he has been inspirational to everyone in many unknown ways that people have been watching and learning.
Yeah. I think millions and billions.
I don't know if I disappointed you by not having a corporate
no,
model.
Definitely not, because Sachin is Sachin. Sachin is into the hearts of millions and millions. In fact, I can even call billions. The way his popularity is, and he is a source of inspiration, and for the same very reasons which you very nicely elaborated. Thank you so much for giving me so much of insights about you. Just a few questions now. I don't want to disappoint the audience if I don't ask anything about the industry.
Sure.
So therefore, in a nutshell, if you can, currently we have seen of late in the last few months the growth rates have slightly tapered off in the industry, and we know the reasons. Some of the reasons are a little topical and which might wane off. But overall, what are the trends which you see today, which you think are very positive, and the trends which you think are not so positive? And if you can just mention a couple of them, something which worries you as the managing director of a great multinational company, and something which you think, oh, here I should capitalize. This is a great opportunity. This is positive. I should capitalize.
Look, let's be clear. The industry is in the throes of a lot of change today. Okay, a lot of change. Most of it coming from external environment. The government policies, the government's thought process, the expectations of the stakeholders, of the patients. You have to understand that the way the industry worked for the last 15-20 years is not going to work anymore. And what will it evolve into? I don't know. I mean, we are all of us business heads and organization heads in different companies are racking up brains around it. But the way it is working today is not the way it is going to work tomorrow. And not just in India, but globally. That's the situation. Whether it is relating to the go-to-market model, the model of the rep going and detailing to the doctor, then the doctor writing the prescription. So much of it is changing. Now, what is required at this time is a lot of fresh thought on how do you deal with the current challenges, and the people who will be able to make those changes in the way of working and embrace the challenges and convert them into opportunities will be the future leading organizations. And that's something that, very often when such a change is happening, the thought process is to somehow fight and struggle to continue to do the things the way you were doing. The smarter ones recognize that things will no longer work this way, and then you change. Now, what are those changes? I'm going to talk a bit more. the fact remains that in the Indian environment, the expectation from organizations to continue to understand that India needs a lot of affordable medicines. Okay, that's not going to go away no matter what you do. And there's a lot of pressure from the government, there's a pressure from stakeholders, etc. So that's going to happen. How do you do it is a question that everyone is searching for. Is it going to come via price controls? Is it going to come via some sort of controls on the manufacturing costs, etc.? I don't know. But the fact remains that if you say the opportunity lies in the billion plus people, all requiring affordable medicine, how do you tackle it? So that's one thing that is going to happen. The second is that naturally, as we are evolving as a country, the requirement for even better quality, the requirement for much better adherence to compliance, the requirements for being world class are also going to increase. So the challenge is going to be how do you be world class in your delivery, in your products, and yet be able to offer the affordability that the country needs. Now those are I would say the I would not call them problem statements, but for lack of a better word, those are the problem statements we have. Those who will be able to crack it are going to make it. Those who will not will have a problem. The third part is that irrespective of the fact that we are in India still a branded generic market or a generic market, again, as we are growing as an economy, the demand for innovation, the demand for much better solutions to our healthcare problems is going to increase, and it's going to increase exponentially. Because when you can afford something, the first thing that you will want to afford is something that will make you live longer and live better
and healthier.
So the quality of life, medicines which will relate to your quality of life, their demand will go up, and we are seeing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, medicines which can offer cures will going up. The affordability is going to be there. So India also has to look at innovation in a very fresh and different way, which is where organizations like ours, who are totally focused on innovative medicine, are showing so much interest in India despite all the challenges. Because we believe that in the long term there is a huge place for innovation medicine and innovative medicine in India. At some point there will be people, 10 years from now, who will be able to afford to pay for the innovation. And I think for the country, the challenges for the country's leadership and our decision and policy makers is not to constantly worry about not being able to afford things, but to worry about how do we make sure that people are able to afford things. Once you're able to afford something, the topic goes away. And I think that's where we need to be. So it's a very, very interesting phase. And anyone who believes that when you're going into the industry today, when the youngsters, when your students are going in today, if they learn, of course they will learn from what's been happening in the last 5 or 10 years. But trust me, they will be faced with challenges which they don't have an answer. And it's very interesting times to enter the industry, and whether it's the Indian companies or the multinationals. So those who love challenges and love a tough task will have a happy time.
Yeah. Very, very, very rightly put. It's the twin objective of affordability and innovation, quality is the challenge in front of us. Yes, we might not have very definitive answers, but we are in a world of ambiguities, and therefore the key task of all of us, including the youngsters who are joining us, is to find solutions there. And that's where I think would be the next phase of the industry.
And it's not just everywhere. It's the same topic everywhere.
Across. I agree.
And no matter which industry you look at, it's the same thing.
Which industry, which country? Which industry, which country? We used to think developed countries are different, but developed countries are also going through the same thing now. They are also under pressure for the similar kind. So, you talked about innovative medicines, and I should share with you. Long back, I also had the opportunity to launch a drug called Boehringer in the Indian market. At that point in time, it was quite a unique thought. Very difficult to get the approvals from the parent company, but we got the approval. And and we got into co-marketing arrangement from Gliptin, and rest is history. We know it. Thereafter, number of companies did do that, and all of them have met with great success. But I noticed in Boehringer Ingelheim case, you have not one product, you have two products which you have launched in the Indian market. You talked about quality of life, and you talked about new stuff which is happening in the Indian pharmaceutical industry. Diabetes is a great area, and both the products, incidentally, are in the diabetes segment. So, and you have made a great success. I was just looking at the numbers, and the numbers are very, very encouraging. So, your thoughts on the bringing the patented products to this country, and also the concept of co-marketing, the way it is picked up in our country. Your own experiences with respect to these two will really help the viewers, because these things are coming up, evolving in the Indian pharmaceutical industry today.
Okay, so part one, experience on bringing patented products in. Most of our products are patented, the ones we are offering in India, and our approach has been in line of what I said earlier, that we want to offer always from an Indian perspective a India friendly price. So we wanted to make sure that in every product that we have launched, we make all efforts to make sure that they are friendlier to India than they are in most of the countries, and that is the fact. I think our prices in India compared to other parts of the world are much lower. Because the belief is that just because it is a patented product doesn't mean that it is restricted to only a few. We want as many people as possible to be able to use them. The interesting thing about patented products is that when they offer a very unique, or what we call as an unmet medical need, it creates, in our case, in a couple of cases, it has created a completely new class of medicine, and that's a huge effort. Now, when you're creating such a huge effort, you also realize that there is a limitation to what you alone as an organization can do, because sometimes the financial restrictions or the financial hurdles in terms of taking a business model and making it profitable can prevent you from say investing too many resources on it. There are certain limitations on growth, and I think that's where the asset maximization policy comes in, because you have a brand which is yours, but then there's the molecule, and if you have that molecule also being marketed by another company, in our case our partnership is with Lupin, then we are saying that we are utilizing the one part of the asset is the physical asset, which is our product, which is our technology. The second asset is the partner's capabilities. So that itself is an asset, and both are maximizing their assets in the process. So it is really a asset maximization policy. And when you do that, the most important thing to do is to actually, at the first, is to select the right partner, and then let them do the things in the best way possible. So I would say that our experience has been extremely good. We are both extremely good partners. We don't interfere much with us. We have certain very clear guidelines on how we should be conducting the business, the ethics around it, the compliances around it, etc., relating to pharmacovigilance, detailing, etc. So I think it's an extremely good experience we have had, and it's not just here, but in other industries you see this concept. In airlines you see seat sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, seat sharing is nothing but asset maximization.
Yeah.
When you have code share airlines and all that, it's a very similar concept here. The assets are of a different kind, but ultimately that's the concept.
Very, very nicely put. I learned the word called asset maximization from you today, which is a very, very varied concept. Yet another point I may add to this is India is a branded generic market. For each molecule you have 100, 150, 200 competitors. So for one molecule, you have, if I take an average of 200 reps promoting a product, and there are 100 companies, so there are 100, 200, close to around 20,000 doctors being covered, and by 100 companies or 150 companies. Now with this, you are making sure that the innovation, the true innovation, is reaching to masses.
Absolutely.
because you are maximizing the share of voice. You are reaching out to much larger number of doctors, much larger number of geographies, more number of people talking. There is good amount of communication taking place, there's a good amount of buzz being created around the molecule, and it's a true innovation. And innovation reaching to large number of people has met with great commercial success. In your case, it has met great commercial success with empagliflozin, with linagliptin. For others, I think it is sexagliptin, the Genuvias and the Galbuses of this world. All of these have been benefited. So I think this trend has picked up for one, asset maximization, very rightly mentioned by you, and perhaps the share of voice maximization, so that the benefit reaches the innovation. So thanks so much for sharing your own personal experiences. Just the last one.
Yeah.
Any last line for the audience? Any one thing which you want to say?
The last line is something which I'm sure every leader in the pharmaceutical industry believes in. No matter what you say or think, this is the one industry which makes so much difference to everyone, to the people, to the patients, to the doctors. Compared to any other industry, I think this is the one industry where you can always hold your hand to your heart and say that I'm really doing something good for the society. And that's something which should make us all feel really happy and satisfied that the efforts that we are putting in ultimately make people live longer, live better, and there can be no better thing than that, right? So that's my last. And anyone who's wanting to enter this industry should go there with that feeling that I am in many ways I am doing service for the society.
Thank God we are in pharma.
Yeah.
We are able to serve the humanity at large. Thanks a lot, Sharad, for sparing your valuable time.
Thank you for inviting me.
And sharing with the audience all your wonderful insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you.